Hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of Santana Says, where we talk about everything from roadblocks to relationships, everything in between, and the overall journey of life. I am excited, as always, to bring you another edition of the show. But also, we got to correct my math. So last time, I was like mad excited to say that it was the 10th episode, and it wasn't. This is the 10th episode.
Okay,
but you know,
okay,
now, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Thanks for being a part of that. So I'm excited.
That's a milestone.
Exactly. So I am happy that not only that it's the 10th episode, but we are doing Women's History, y'all. So let's get into it. I'm going to be featuring all women all month long because I'm super excited about that. Always putting on, for different populations, but definitely I feel like women, we should stick together. So, and also I just think dope women, not only should we support one another, but like we should uplift one another and other people should know about dope women. So guess what I did, y'all? I'm bringing you a very, very dope guest, Tanisha Velez. Yes.
Thank you.
So yes, Tanisha. So could you tell us? I mean, I know you. I love you.
Yeah.
But could you let the good people know a little bit about you? Who are you? All that.
Yeah. So my name is Tanisha Velez. I am a mother of 3. I've been in a relationship with Darian Murdoch for 17 years, so since high school.
Yeah.
And we own a couple businesses. So our first business is Cleveland Fresh, which is a urban agriculture operation. We focus on indoor growing, outdoor growing. So our mission is to educate, inspire, and support, or I should say inspire, educate, support urban farmers, and then eventually just start bringing in that next generation of farmers into our communities. And then we also have a nonprofit called Jardín for Life, which means garden for life in a little Spanglish twist.
Right.
And that nonprofit is the same. It's in order to support more agriculture operations in the city of Cleveland, as well as entrepreneurs, and then different youth as well.
Lovely.
Thank you.
I love that. Impressive resume. I love.
Listen, I did a resume and it was like 4 pages. I'm like, all right, let's backtrack a little
We're
bit.
going to compare that back. Exactly. Experience is rich.
Yes.
I love that. But then, so speaking of all of that, I would love to tell everyone, how in the world did we meet?
How did we meet? I know it was like through Facebook or something.
Yes.
And I noticed how just interesting of a person you were, right? And it's like, hey, what else do you do out here? And I think I reached out to you, and it was like just
Absolutely.
to see like, what do you teach like on trauma, red flags, green flags. So I heard a lot about that, and then eventually we just end up meeting at different community events.
Yep.
And then I just fell in love with your personality, your vibes, your energy, right? And just like how you talk to people, but you don't talk down to people. You get what I'm saying? Like,
I appreciate that. Yep.
You're a very well-rounded woman that loves to support other women. And then just your babies. Like, I just love them. Like, one of them is a chef. The other one is a dancer. Then the other one's a boxer or a gymnast. And I'm like, all right, now this is getting creative and very nice, right? Just to see how the next generation is getting even better than our generation.
Amen.
So I really enjoy seeing like mothers that are really taking on that role as teachers, right?
Yep.
And as we're called to do, and really support our children in that space.
Always. Yeah. And I wanted to concur on that like that actually, so same. I don't even remember when we started being friends. We probably been Facebook friends forever, to be honest. We probably go way back to like, because you went to Lincoln West. So like,
yes, I did.
Yes, exactly. So Wolverine, hey, shout out to Wolverines. Yep. There you go. So I love that, and I definitely think, yes, we had connected before, but I will say that it definitely touched my heart that you did that, because I was like, I love that, like, first of all, I didn't know that anybody noticed things, so that's like, even this has still been a test of my comfortability, I will say, like, just being out there, you know what I'm saying, exactly, doing things, so you never know, like, who you're reaching, so, like, I love that it was that we could do that, but also that you took that time to have that genuine, like, one-on-one connection, so, like, I love, and I think I also...
And we met for coffee, didn't we?
Yes, we absolutely
That's
did.
what it was. And then I'm like, oh my God, who is this lady? Like, where's she been at? Because we did meet for coffee.
Exactly. And so like, it started off like this thing like, oh, let's see what it is. But then that connection just like formed. We're like, oh, we really are about like similar things. And I feel like that's what you got to do with people. Like, I love that you let me know that's what I need to be doing more of. Like, if I see somebody and I want to know more about them, let me invite them out. Like, let me actually do that. And I think that it was a great piece of advice that you gave at, what was that? Like Future Land? What was the thing?
Future Land?
Or the event.
The Future Land. Yes, because I was on the panel.
Sure was, exactly. So shout out to the fact that Tanisha was also on the panel and got your girl a ticket.
Try to be humble.
Exactly, but that's what I was gonna say. I'm telling y'all, the resume's gonna keep on unfolding. But that was really dope. And I think it was really great that, there you shared like a lot of gems like that. Like how it really, we got to take it back to that. I think we overcomplicate things sometimes and do all that, but we got to remember that it's really, when we build our network, it's really by having those genuine like relationships.
And then connecting, right? Like I can't keep you as my own resource, but if I know that you are able to support somebody, how can I connect you? How can I make that connection? And it's that soft, gentle pass to say, hey, do you know what she's doing? Can I tell you what amazing work she can support you in? So just by being a natural connector, or, just like, hey, did you see what she's doing? And then you connect them that way. So it's just a lot about how we can get women to connect and not compete, as well as support and not compete. I feel like we're living in this world where it's this elite group versus another like group that's trying to make it. And it's like, why are we doing this to each other? Versus like, everybody got to eat. Like my mom always said, like everybody got to have their rice and beans. So it's like, it's true. How do we connect everybody to be able to create a bigger impact, right?
Oh God, exactly. But I love the connect and not compete.
Yeah.
And because what's up with the gatekeeping? Like I just feel like some people get you get some gems, but then they're like, can nobody else know about it?
Yeah.
Like, are we not? Is there not enough money to go around? You know
Listen, money gets printed every day, so there's plenty of money out there.
Yes, exactly. And we know we're in a country where that's already the case. And I feel like there's already enough competition going around in America. We need to fight against that. Like, I definitely think it does not breed anything in that. And that's also why we have the biggest mental health issues. I feel like.
Yeah, because we're not creating those spaces for women to come together. Like, yeah, there's probably a couple, there's a couple of them. But then again, it's who you know.
Right.
It's what you're bringing.
Yep.
And then we have those gatekeepers too, right? So how do we create a space where that's not the issue, but we just come as women and we just come to chat and we just come to like, hey, can I tell you that I smell like fried chicken because I had to cook dinner before I came here? You know what I mean? So thank God y'all can't smell nothing. But it's just those things like we don't create those opportunities for each other.
No. And then like you said, you also spoke to something that shout out to women that not only wear 50 million hats, okay, and like do all these other things, but like multitask like it ain't nobody's business. That in and of itself be a full-time job. Yeah. Just trying to like balance the working, the being a mom, like doing all of those things. And we do it well. I'm not gonna lie. Like we gotta congratulate ourselves. We're gonna give ourselves some flowers today.
We're clap for that.
Like, yeah, and I agree. And then I love what you're saying, because it's like also if we do share ideas with one another, like, hey, what works for you? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a little tired this week. I'm trying to figure out better systems for this. Like, what can we do? Like, why can't we just create more supportive circles like that?
And it's like, even if our business isn't the same, we still have certain things that are the same. You know what I mean? Like even payment processing. Hey, what works for you? Because what's working for me is not happening. Right. Or if there's somebody like, oh, I have an online Etsy shop and I can do this. Yep. Well, can you share with me? Or you know what I'm saying? Like, how can I support you? Or how can I pay you to do that? Versus like going to somebody else that already does that.
Yep.
It's just different ways that we could find to support. I don't like making excuses. I like finding solutions.
Hey.
So yeah, that's what I like to do.
Absolutely. And then I'm curious, what did motivate you to do? So you have the business, or maybe multiple businesses, correction, but then also the nonprofit. So like, did you see, was it like different reach that you wanted to be able to have, or like, what was the thought process behind having all that?
So for the nonprofit, I think it was like finding the right partner was always an issue for me. Maybe I didn't align with the way they moved in the community, or who's behind the nonprofit in a way. Like you have a nonprofit that helps or supports the community, but they don't even live there. They don't understand the pain that community is going through, but they're looking for the story, right, to tell in grant writing.
Absolutely.
Because the right story is the right one that gets granted. So I just didn't in line with some of those things. So I'm like, you know what? If they can do it, why can't I do it?
Hello.
So I just paid my accountant, like, hey, how do we do this? How do we figure this out? And shout out to Castillo Enterprise. She helped me figure those kinks out, and she created the nonprofit for me together with me. And we got it going. So it's just like, it's that whole thing about, I need to wait on somebody to do something, right? So I know we were talking about that earlier, but it's like, I don't want to have to wait on nobody. If it's my moment, and I don't want to say it like arrogantly, but if it's the moment that I need to move on because I'm moving in purpose, then I need to move at the purpose time, or, within that time. So that's what inspired me to get the nonprofit. And I figured like, hey, if this is another way to make income, why not move on that?
Absolutely.
Because a nonprofit can pay myself or it can pay my business as a contractor. So then we're creating different ways to be sustainable.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely do love that. And I love that you said not waiting on like that perfect chance or that perfect opportunity, because that perfect opportunity may never come. Like you being set up, perfectly in that way. I feel like, and the other thing is too, if it's something that you really care about, of course you're going to be scared. Like you're not, yeah.
And if you're not scared, you're not dreaming big enough.
Exactly.
If you're not scared, you're not putting yourself in a situation where you're willing to make yourself grow.
Right.
In a space that you need to be growing in. So,
hello.
I've been a part of a couple conversations where I'm the only Latina in the room.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I tell people like, what are we doing? And you know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
Some issues aren't just black and white.
No.
There's other people in between. So how do we start bringing those conversations into a humanitarian issue versus just gender or color? Like,
absolutely.
Sometimes it gets to be too much.
Right. I do hear that, and I am curious about that. So, as a woman, right, and a Latina woman at that, have you ever noticed that it is a little bit harder though to acquire some of the things as a woman? Like, have you ever faced, any obstacles that will be unique to being a woman?
Yeah. So I'll go to not to the business, right? Yep. So Cleveland Fresh, we really started off of as a microgreen. So microgreens, for those that might not know, it's a baby vegetable green, or you can do an herb as well. Don't do tomatoes because they're toxic. But they grow within, they grow indoors in a vertical tray. So it's vertical farming. And then they grow within 5 to 20 days. They have 30 to 60 times more nutrition. So in that space, it was getting kind of, I still do, but it's getting kind of aggravated, where I get aggravated, where I see a white male, applying for all these grants and all these fundings and all these loans and stuff, and then their business is like, boom, we're getting partners and we're getting people, angel investors and all this other stuff, and I've been here for 5 years,
for real,
and I'm still trying to figure out how to pay the lights. So it's just a couple things that you do see it, but then I also feel that we're in the right space at the right time.
Absolutely.
Because now this is the hot topic, right? Like, where the Latin women at, how do we start diversifying the conversation? How do we start? And our voice is valid.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Our voice is coming from an experience that we've seen our parents, like my parents are first generation to be here, and I'm first generation to be born here. Right. So I had to sit back and think about that. Like, this is why I'm struggling, because my parents didn't have it made. No. They struggled coming here. They figured out their way. But now it's my turn to figure out my way. Oh, absolutely. My voice and my lane. So.
Oh, yes. Reclaim it.
It is, but it's just building on that and then teaching our kids, like, there is a better way to do things. Learn from our mistakes.
Yep.
We're here to help you.
Oh, absolutely. And you touched on the next thing that I was thinking of too. Like as we mentioned, that we touched on it briefly, but with our kids, definitely. So as moms, I feel like you were dropping some lessons that you've been given, things that you want to like bestow upon them. But what have you been trying to like intentionally build upon them that you might not have necessarily learned growing up? Yeah.
So intentionally, what I'm trying to do with them is build them up as entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So each of them have their own card where it's like it's a debit card, and then they can get money as they want, right? So they also have, like, my youngest has a dog business. My middle child has a business where he creates art, and now he's like reading on YouTube for kids that maybe not want to read a book, but they can listen to him reading the book and follow along.
Nice.
And then my oldest, he's the mathematician, so he's trying to be an accountant. So we're trying to set him up to understand, like, how to manage money. How do you set up for bills, budgets, those kind of things. So intentionally, besides trying to build decent human beings in this world.
I know, right?
And then you have your lessons where you got the times where you're learning your own lessons from your children, because we're not the only ones that are teaching something. The kids have taught me a lot more about myself than I thought I could ever learn about myself. So, but just intentionally trying to put them up as entrepreneurs and not depend off the system, right? Like, we're living in a space where we're meant to be put in this box and kept in this box,
right?
Versus like, no. Like, you can go over there and you can build what you want to build. So intentionally trying to build them into entrepreneurship.
Oh, definitely.
Into entrepreneurs,
Love that. And I definitely think that, yeah, we can't do that enough because I definitely think they need to learn that and then, like, you know, get that confidence and just feel supported in it. So, like, I don't think it's naturally something, unfortunately, that's taught in schools. Like, that's not necessarily class, even though it probably should be. But I'm glad that you're filling that gap, you know, and making sure that they do know that. But it's also just starting that so early. I just feel like, applaud. Hello. Like,
and we could all do it, right?
Yes,
it's just figuring out, and I can help figure that out. But it's like, how do we intentionally build them to understand, like, this is the problem, but let's find a solution and let's work through multiple solutions versus like, I give up because the first one failed. Like, as entrepreneurs, we all know that that's our thing. It's like, and that's why I like to be a problem solver. Cause there's many problems in the world, but how do we start solving them?
Absolutely. Yeah. And they're not, and unfortunately, they're not going to end. You know what I mean? They're not going to stop for us. They're not going to ask permission to come. We just need to be ready with that mindset. And I definitely think that's what I appreciate most is that you're definitely instilling these great skills. I mean, like from the beginning, and like that's awesome. But it is that mindset piece behind it. Cause like really things are going to get difficult. You know what I'm saying? People are going to So it's like just making sure that they, you know, definitely do that. But I love that you said something that I have also loved saying about the kids is that they definitely do teach us. Like at the end of the day, yo, kids are amazing. Like if you just open yourself up to what they say and like what they do, like you really will be so impressed because that's what I feel like. And I definitely think they've been here before, but you know.
My youngest, I could tell you, he's like, why do I have to go to school?
I'm like, telling you. Lord, listen, I'm sorry, but you got to go.
Yes. And he's like so over school. He doesn't want to be there no more. No. He feels that he doesn't learn enough. He's like, it's such a waste of time. And I'm like, how does a 7-year-old, because he's about to be 8,
right,
understand the concept of time?
You know what I'm saying?
And it's like, you don't want to be with your friends. He's like, no, Mom, I want to be at home with you. And I'm like, it was during COVID, right? Where they had to stay home and witness like what the process is at home, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they definitely don't want to go to school.
Right.
Like,
and then what's funny is my oldest does that. So mine is opposite. She's the one that's always challenging. It's like I'm a little.
Wait till she gets to her teen years. She don't want to be at home.
Girl, that's what I'm saying. See,
treasure these moments.
Well, and then there you go. Yeah, that's true. So it's probably going to definitely invert. But I also love that she's always the challenger, period, though. So, like, also, like, when it comes to authority and, like, listening to things. And, like, I'm trying to hone in on that because I'm like, yo, that's going to be such great on the entrepreneurial side because I love that you challenge. But I need you to also know when it's right to listen. So that's been my, that's
my middle child right there.
Okay, then, see? Because
it's always the talk back. And it's like, I don't need you to say anything back to me.
Like, that's exactly the time for
and
that.
It's different, right? Because like if I would have talked back to my mom, girl, I would have been waiting for that backhand. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Like I remember getting popped in my mouth, and I'm like, she made me bleed. Right? You do that now, it's like, I'm calling the cops. Like, I dare you, buddy, I dare you. Right? It's like you can't even touch your kids.
No.
You know, sometimes they need to have it, but.
Right, exactly.
That's a different conversation.
Right, you know, discipline in different ways. You know what I'm saying? Making sure, but the regulation do got to be there. So I like, and that is what's been interesting is helping her see that. And then knowing, I think what was funny was because that's what I was like joking with them about when they came on the show about YouTube because you know that's a whole career now. But I'm like, okay, but do you not think that she still has producers that she has to listen to? Like her favorite YouTube artist still has people that she unfortunately, but she still does it in an independent way. Absolutely, you know. So it's like honing in that creativity and helping her like see that. But I do love that it's still, like you said, we're still fighting against systems though. So like I appreciate that, especially because shout out to you because I'm currently in a capitalism class, y'all, learning about capitalism thanks to you. You know, I didn't even know it existed. Like,
girl, I be in there like, y'all should all be a part of this. I'm a messenger sending that out.
Yes, exactly.
It's very eye-opening.
Right.
Like we know these systems are in place, right? We are educated enough to understand. And I think we're awoken enough to see the things, right?
Right.
But to get into depth into how this class gets into it, it's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah. So shout out to Wendy Moore for putting me onto that. This is the second time that she sent it my way, and I was like, okay, now I can actually do it. Right. So
have some time.
That class, I refer anybody to go to that class. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Same. And I just think any opportunity to also learn more. So like you said, we still can learn. You know,
lifelong learners.
Yes, at the end of the day. And I just feel like there is no plateau. There is no place where we're going to be like, yo, I got it. I'm good now. And I don't need to, there is no other lesson I need to take or like whatever. We can always be enriched. And that's what I love. Because with this one, I'm like, I can see this in so many places where like I can use this knowledge. And I'm also like charged up about it. And then the cool thing about the class is that you're around other people that are in the class for those same reasons. Yeah. So you're building community.
And it's different perspectives too. I always say this, like I think it was in the last class, I said, I don't know if I'm reading the same thing y'all reading, but y'all pulling a lot of information that I didn't capture. So I'm so glad to be in this space because you really get to hear different perspectives. And then it's different things that I personally didn't get out of the reading that they're getting out. And I'm like, dang, like this is a smart group. I like being here. Yeah. But it's really nice because they're local. Right. And they do a lot of movie nights. Like they have a couple movie nights out. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Yeah, and but I do love that because I definitely think that's what I want to keep being around though is not just people that support me for sure, but people that challenge me, and that's what I love. Like in that class, I agree with you. I don't agree with everything that everybody says. Mm-hmm. It's just that I'm just like, but it does enrich the conversation and it gives me that food for thought. Mm-hmm. And so like I'm sitting back thinking, okay, well, how can I take into perspective what you're saying and then apply what I can so that I'm like, acting to the most of my ability and doing what I can. Yeah. So like I definitely appreciate that. And then as you mentioned, we were talking about like lessons that our own children have given us and challenges that we face. Mm-hmm. What would you say? Biggest
Patience.
Lesson? Okay. We didn't even have to get it out. She knew.
It was already there. It was ready. Yeah. Patience, and I think loving myself is another one because my youngest is like, "Oh, you're so beautiful," and I'm like, "Don't say that." But then it's like, I got to see it from his perspective. And then I even caught him saying like, oh, I don't want to be on camera. And I'm like, oh, that's what I say. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, I really have to watch what I say and how I feel about myself. Right. Just because there are eyes watching. Yes, there are these many creatures that you have created, right? Like many children that you made out of love, and that's like they are watching you, they are listening, they understand how you're feeling.
Yes, they are.
And then they're observing everything. Like, I'm like, what? Like even going to school, like I see my son and he doesn't want to go to school, and I'm like, oh my God, that's how I be feeling about a job.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm dragging out the door, like, ugh. So it's just different. Right. How about you? What have you learned?
Yeah, I would definitely say similar, definitely patience, but also like emotion regulation. I've had to really learn. I ain't got it. So like, and then I was actually thinking about that while you were sharing. I was like, we both got three.
And you got girls.
And you're boys.
And I have boys.
And I'm telling you, so I'm curious about yours, but I'll definitely start with mine. The sensitivity, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I've been trying to navigate that. And I'm nervous because like I told y'all, they're not teenagers yet. So I'm like, yo, they're going to get older. And it's going to come with even more. And I don't know. I don't think I'm ready, but like I'm trying to like train myself now to like be able to take all that on. So
I don't know if there's any books that can help with that, to be honest. But for me, I have all boys, and the ages are 7, 10, and 14. So I do have a teenager, which is totally different. I'm like, what happened to my baby? Right. And we were teenage parents. Okay. So we got pregnant very, very early in our lives. Which I'm grateful for because we got them out the way in a certain way. So it's like we're gonna be 40-year-olds at the club making up for the time we lost. Right. But probably not. We'll probably be in a farm. But yeah, it's from them. It's like it's all boys, so it's a lot of like macho men energy kind of way. Like
look at that.
Like stop talking to me. And I'm like, why are we talking like that? And I'm like, come on, guys, let's own it. Let's like, be calm. And then it's like, okay, I've had enough. And then I go into like 90s Puerto Rican yelling mom. Right. And it's like, don't be that person. So it's just a lot of emotional roller coasters for myself. Yeah. That I have to own and then just like figure it out. I'm like, I shouldn't be yelling at them like that. Right. But then it's like, it's 3 of them. Yeah, and they're all boys. And then it's only so much that I can be like, Darian, the boys. And then, or like, go talk to your dad. Like, that I have to hold my ground at a certain point too. Right. So, always.
I can imagine. But that's what I was wondering, because I was like, so that's what I've heard. So boys, I guess I heard, what did I hear? I don't know if it's true or not.
Listen, I don't know.
There's a lot of energy. I definitely did hear. Yeah.
It ain't easy.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. But I love that like those conversations are happening because I do feel like, and then like literally, having the conversation with my girls, but also telling them about the boys that are out there, their ages, and they're trying to figure it out. And then eventually like, I know that eventually they might have partners and they might also date. And I'm like, I don't even know what that's even gonna, but I'm glad that there are parents like yourself, you know, who are having conversations with these potential partners for my daughters, and that I'm also having conversations with my girls, because I need to hold my girls up. So don't get me wrong. I don't mean to say that the onus should be only on boys, right? Like it's not. As girls too, we need to make sure that we're providing, you know, good spaces, you know, that we're also good partners, and that, you know, we can balance. But it is a lot that we all take on. I feel like in that process, right?
It's true. It's very true what you're saying, especially like trying to showcase. Like I feel like when you have like me being at home with all the boys, right? It's like I have to show them what a true or kind of like a good example of a woman is, right? So it's just like how I treat their dad, how I, you know, how I carry the house, how I try not to like throw stuff at them. You know what I mean? So it's just certain things that you play as an example, because that is the first feminine role that they're looking at. So
absolutely.
It's like, how do you carry yourself in a way, even though you want to like head to head be like, boom, you can't, you know? So it's like, because I don't want them looking for a wife that is capable of doing that to their children, right? So it's like, how do we create that space where we're educating them? And I'm telling my kids, like, listen, there's girls out there that they're going to try you.
Right.
But it's up to you to either choose to stay there or walk away. Right. And like, how much of a responsible person are you going to be? Right. If you not, you know, like in our situation, we got married, we got together and had a baby at 16. Right. So like, he stepped up to the plate and became responsible, but like, are you willing to do that? I mean, exactly. Because if you ain't, then don't do it. So, yeah, it's a lot of learning and teaching and
Oh my gosh, exactly. And then readjusting, doing it all over again. But I do love that we're talking about that, because that's my thing too, is that like, as relationships being one of my premises, you know, like I'm all about healthy relationships, and you know,
green flag.
You know it. It's my jam. But then agreed, I think like it's amazing that we're, like you said, cultivating these tiny humans who are eventually going to be in relationships, and how are we helping them to learn how to like identify those things, and so that they know it. But then also, like you said, you know, the added layer that you've added on too is that also, how can they be independent for themselves, still be a good partner to someone else in the future, but also still want to create that success. And what the heck does success look like? You know, because I didn't know what that meant. No. You know, growing up, I'm like, what exactly like?
Success to me was just making sure the lights stayed on.
You feel me? That's
you know
it.
What I mean? But we know now, like we've learned enough now, or you know, we're still learning, but it's like we've learned more than what our parents knew. So how do we create that where it's like, this is what you should be ready for if you're gonna actually get into that space, like get married and have kids. Like, you gotta have all of this. And I be telling my kids, like, don't have kids till y'all 30. Like,
right, take your time.
Yeah, like enjoy yourself, create that wealth for yourself, because then you don't have nothing to worry about, you know? Yes. So really starting them off young and teaching them about money management. I don't think we teach our kids enough. I know my dad was somebody that was like, sign my checks, or this is my books. Like, so I was in that world where I was always constantly seeing numbers. So it helped me understand what numbers are, what numbers should be, like, you know, how to take care of that. Right. And you have to be a good steward to what's given to you. So I try to teach that to them too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I love that is something that, you know, part of what you're teaching, because I'm also hearing a lot about sustainability at the end of the day. And how are we creating, exactly, how are we creating that? How are we fostering that? But then, and making sure that they have that, you know, later on. And I am curious, like, you know, what would be like the biggest, you know, like you've already touched on some of your goals. I know you're like taking all these steps, but you know, what is like the greater plan? Like, what would you want? Oh, yeah. What would it look like?
My greater plan is to live 6 months in Puerto Rico, 6 months here.
Nice. Okay.
But for me, I think it's really living off grid. Like having a farm where it's sustainable, where we're still like being active in the community in a way. Yes. So our plan for this year is really to work on creating a farmer's market in the community as well, so that we can give young entrepreneurs a section of the market where they're selling their product and creating that revenue for themselves, as well as like just having local farmers and growers there where we're eating those fresh fruits and vegetables that are from our community. So that's the goal this year, right? Is like really launching this farmer's market. So that's a whole project within itself. Right. And then creating the space where I'm at now. So I'm on West 25th now with my grow trailer. Well, with a grow trailer that I'm leasing. And it's 11 by 58. So we grow our microgreens there. Yep. We're learning how to freeze dry items. Okay. So by freeze drying, you're preserving the nutrients. Right. And then you're creating we could create capsules or create powder forms. So that's what we're looking into.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully have some chickens, some goats.
Right, exactly. A little bit of everything, y'all.
Yeah.
Especially with the way eggs are.
And we're gonna be becoming a 4-H program. So
okay.
So hopefully giving other kids opportunities to get scholarship to go to school. So
I mean, hello, come on now, it just goes back around.
I mean, it's all in the other side of town, so it's like, why can't we have it in the city?
Yes, exactly. Oh, I love that. I definitely love everything about that. And I love that our intersection too was that we talked about how like you have provided a lot of programs in schools as well. And so we talked about how like, you know, different things come up when we're there. And I remember we said that we were like, that's where we saw that maybe we could also work together. Yes. You know what I'm saying? And possibly do that and just like help, since you encounter a lot of youth with your work.
Yeah.
You know.
And just being in those spaces, you see how they act with each other, and it's like, oh, where's she at?
I know, need you to tap in.
Come in here.
Yes.
But yeah, just because, you know, that is our first relationships are in high school, right? And then you're probably not seeing the best relationship examples at home.
Not necessarily.
So often you tend to like bring that out in your relationship personally.
Definitely.
So how do we break those barriers and just those negative red flags, like you call them?
Hey,
But I love that the first time that I ever heard green flags was from you, where it's like, you know, there's bad stuff, but there's also good stuff. How do we start looking towards the good stuff, but acknowledging the bad stuff?
Right, in the process.
So yeah.
Yes, I do love that. And I think that that's going to be the only way to break through all these things, you know, help, you know, students and youth in general know that they're valuable, you know, and that they have like so much potential and all of that. But then that because of that, they're worth it. And that's what we want to like put into them. So I love the idea of the scholarships. I love that there's like all these things. And then it's just, but I also love that with everything that you want to do, you still want to get back. You know what I mean? Like with every part, it's nothing that you just want to, you know, keep for yourself, which just speaks, you know, so much to your own spirit and character, you know, which I love. But I think it's just great. And that's also the kind of efforts I want to see like continue to grow more. So I'm just glad that, you know, you shared some of it with us today. But I do hope that, if this reaches the right people, you know, feel free, lend a little hand. You know, y'all heard it. We're growing some stuff up here. But we do what we can. Yeah, exactly. But I definitely think it's such a great worthy cause, you know, to be able to do that. And then like, you know, it just gives back in and of itself. You know, it comes back, you know, tenfold when you're doing things of that kind. So
thank you.
Absolutely. So if you had any other last advice as the woman that you are, mom, entrepreneur, you got a whole bunch of, like I said, all them hats.
Yeah. That's hard balancing all them hats.
Right.
But for me, I think it's just being true to who you are.
Absolutely.
Move in purpose. And just create opportunities for other women or for other individuals, right? Because and to keep teaching the next generation, right? Because I'm a biblical person, so I believe, you know, there's a Moses, but there's a Joshua. So how are you preparing that next generation to take on when our time is limited? Right. So how do we put somebody in that position to be able to take on or carry what we're kind of creating as our legacy? Right. But somebody else has to come in and do the extra work, right? And keep that legacy going. Yep. So I really believe in pouring into the next generation. So that's the reason why it's like, how do we create a league that creates opportunities for kids? How do we create farms, right? To teach people how to be sustainable. So it's a lot of things that go into it, but just move in purpose.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
And with it, y'all should, I'm sure there was at least some things that you probably resonated with or, you know, that you might have connected with or you might want to know more about. If people want to connect with you, Tanisha, how can they do that?
So you can reach me at Tanisha, TANISHA at clevelandfresh.com, or just go through the website, www.clevelandfresh.com.
Hey, y'all heard it. So yeah, tap in. Oh, and also shout out to the Roberto Clemente project that was done by Rosa Cruz.
Yeah.
All right, now shout out to all that because that was another project that when you said that, you reminded me that we had also worked on together.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Yeah.
And shout out to everybody that's building up like other efforts, you know, trying to help others. Obviously, I hope you know that you're in community with others, you know, that there are people that want to help. And I mean, if we can, I mean, if there's we don't know it all, but if there's a piece that we can give, you know what I mean, or some advice, we definitely want you to know that, no, you're not alone. And that like, you know, if we can help you to figure it out, please reach out, you know, absolutely. And you definitely heard how to connect with Tanisha. So that's, you know, please feel encouraged to do so. And as always, y'all, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on.
Thank you.
And thank you for always supporting and for all that y'all do. And I hope you continue to tune in every other Friday because we're going to bring you a little something, but especially for women this summer.
Thank you.